Hi, everybody, and welcome to Soft Science for Sleep, where your bloodstream gets poetic and your pineal gland is the star of the show. Tonight, you're not just lying on a bed, you're drifting in a sea, buoyed by something older than civilization and deeper than your bathtub. Imagine this, every cell in your body floating, microscopic ships in saline bobbing quietly inside you. You are not made of water. You are made in water. Your body is a walking aquarium, a warm, salty tide pool lit by hormones and stirred by rhythm. Your skin may touch air, but your insides speak fluent ocean. You probably won't survive this if you're looking for a fast-paced science explainer. There are no pop quizzes here, only gentle waves, weird facts, and cellular size. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from and what time is it for you right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You start by noticing how warm your toes are. One toe, two, the rest joining like sleepy turtles on a sun-warmed rock. Beneath them, thousands of tiny capillaries shimmer with salty plasma, ferrying heat, hormones, and quiet instructions. You are a tide pool hosting a private ocean within your limbs, and that ocean, believe it or not, has tides. Not crashing waves or dramatic swells, but slow cellular pulses. Ions drifting, pressure shifting, your own blood gently sloshing in time with things you can't see, sunlight, sleep, and the moon overhead. Historians still argue whether ancient civilizations believed the body contained its own tides, or whether they simply observed the sea and projected it onto themselves. Either way, we ended up with myths and metaphors that stuck. Blood like rivers, women as lunar beings, and tears as saltwater, proof of emotion. Your body, by volume, is over 60% water. But not just any water. This is salted, structured, warmed to just right water. The kind that knows how to deliver oxygen, cradle organs, and maintain a pH balance more delicate than a high school crush. The ocean in you is not decorative. It's electric. Salty plasma conducts signals from cell to cell, neuron to muscle. It lets your heart beat and your fingers twitch. Even your sighs are born of sodium and potassium dances in the breathy depths of your nerves. Fun fact, seawater and human blood plasma are eerily similar in mineral composition. It's one of those evolutionary hints that we didn't just walk out of the ocean, we brought the ocean with us. There's a soft debate about whether early humans dreamed more deeply by the sea. Was it the sound of the surf, the mineral mist, or was it something more primal, the pull of the moon, massaging our melatonin like a gentle tide? Sleep researchers in the 1980s thought they were hallucinating when they saw brainwave changes that matched high tide. Later studies flirted with the idea but couldn't always replicate the results. Still, the idea lingers like sea foam. Maybe your body still listens to ocean rhythms, even landlocked. You remember being a baby, even if your brain doesn't. Floating in amniotic fluid, warm, salty, humming with maternal hormones. That inner ocean was your first lullaby. And as it turns out, the womb and the sea have a suspicious amount in common. Buoyancy, salinity, temperature, gentle push-pull movements. Here's a weird one. Some fringe marine biologists in the 60s claimed that humans could instinctively hold their breath underwater at birth due to something called the mammalian dive reflex. It was their way of saying, hey, maybe we're meant to return to water, even if just to nap by it. Of course, evolutionary biologists fired back with dry, academic rebuttals, pun fully intended. But the romance stuck. So now, here you are, lying in bed, breathing slowly, with a salty internal sea circling in quiet currents. It's not poetic nonsense. It's biology dressed for sleep. When you breathe in, your diaphragm presses down, gently shifting the fluid pressures around your heart and liver. Not dramatically, just enough. You don't feel it, but your organs gently rock in their briny hammocks. When you fall asleep, your body begins a tide-like rhythm of repair. Melatonin release, lowered core temperature, muscle relaxation. You can't force it. You float into it. There's a reason your heartbeat slows when you're near the ocean, or even just hear ocean sounds. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest crew, loves a soft rhythm, especially one that reminds it of wombs, waves, and whispering water. Oh, and just in case no one told you, your blood doesn't really flow like a river. It pulses, it dances, it meanders like a curious eel. It is pushed, pulled, cradled. Some ancient Greek physicians believed that the body's humors had tidal natures. Black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, blood, they all allegedly ebbed and flowed. Obviously, we ditched that idea, and good riddance to leech therapy, but the basic instinct that health is rhythmic and fluid wasn't wrong. Modern science still tries to pin everything down with numbers and charts. But your body, it doesn't care about neatness. It sways, it swells, it softens. You're not a machine. You're a moonlit lagoon. And that's where we begin tonight, in the warm tide of yourself, your own saltwater symphony. Humming quietly, unseen but unmissable. Let it hold you now. Melatonin. Just the name sounds like something that might wear a silk robe and whisper lullabies into your bloodstream. But don't be fooled. This sleepy hormone is less of a gentle suggestion and more of a secret bouncer that kicks out the wakeful chemicals when the lights go down. Right now, as your eyes grow heavy, melatonin is moving through your system. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't need a red carpet. It simply flows softly, invisibly like the tide creeping in under a sleeping boat. Your pineal gland, that little pine cone-shaped gland buried deep in the squishy center of your brain, is the DJ at this nightly rave. Tiny, ancient, suspiciously mysterious. For centuries, people believed it was the seat of the soul. Descartes called it the principal seat of the soul, actually, and historians still argue whether he meant that poetically or if he really thought it was an astral antenna. Frankly, either works in this bedtime story. What we do know, when your eyes detect darkness, real darkness, not just sunglasses at a pool party, the pineal gland starts dripping melatonin into your bloodstream. Not gushing, just dripping like a leaky faucet in a cabin in the woods. And as melatonin trickles in, your core temperature dips, your blood pressure eases, and your body whispers to itself, yeah, this is the stuff. But here's the secret twist. Melatonin doesn't just follow the sun. It may also dance with the moon. Now this part, fringe city. There are quiet studies, nervous, blushing little things that hint at melatonin levels subtly shifting across lunar phases. Some researchers notice people sleep a little worse during full moons. Melatonin production dips slightly, dreams get weird, and people toss and turn with inexplicable restlessness. Theories abound. Some say it's just light pollution, modern lighting throws off our natural cues. Others claim it's magnetic shifts. Still others shrug and say, hey, maybe werewolves were onto something. Mainstream science hasn't signed the lease on that apartment yet, but it peeks in the windows. You, however, feel it. Maybe not consciously, but your body, it listens. It listens to the dark, the sky, the weight of moonlight on your face. Before modern lighting turned night into daytime 2.0, humans lived by light cues. Candlelight, moonlight, firelight. They were all yellowish, flickery, and utterly insufficient for checking Instagram, but they were perfect for sleep. Your pineal gland knew when it was time. The rhythm was slower, saltier, more aligned. Now let's throw in some ancient star lore for spice. Babylonian astrologers believed certain moon phases had healing hours, moments when the night air was especially charged with celestial medicine. Whether you believe that or not, you can't deny that some nights feel heavier, sleepier, like gravity is wearing a cozy sweater. In India, Ayurvedic practices connected melatonin-like states with lunar fasting. Rest during certain moon days was thought to realign subtle energies. And while they didn't call it a melatonin because Sanskrit didn't exactly cover peptide hormones, they absolutely understood the link between darkness, calm, and internal balance. Fast forward a few centuries, and here you are, scrolling in bed, bathed in blue light, asking your exhausted pineal gland to pretty please pretend it's midnight. Blue light, by the way, is melatonin's mortal enemy. It's the bouncer that throws the bouncer out of the club. Screens confuse your eyes. Your brain says, daytime again, and melatonin sulks back into the shadows. This is why people wear those orange-tinted glasses at night, not because they're cosplaying as 1970s detectives, but because amber light soothes the pineal gland. It's a cue, a bedtime story for your hormones. So yes, your inner ocean doesn't just feel tides, it secretes them. Melatonin is the molecular tide that sweeps away the noise. It lets your brain shift into its janitorial mode, sweeping, sorting, rinsing. During deep sleep, melatonin helps your body repair cells, lower inflammation, and clean up those crusty little metabolic leftovers. Here's a fun, mildly disturbing tidbit. Scientists discovered that melatonin levels in blind individuals are often more stable and robust than in sighted folks. Because their brains don't get confused by erratic light cues, their pineal glands stick to a cleaner schedule. In other words, the less visual chaos, the smoother the tide. And while you can take melatonin supplements, and half the internet seems to recommend it, your body prefers the real homegrown stuff. No fancy packaging, no added ingredients, just that quiet pineal drizzle, released in perfect timing if you let it. There's also an ongoing debate in chronobiology circles, yes, that's a real field, about whether melatonin's main role is to make you sleepy or simply to signal that it's nighttime. Like the first yawn at a dinner party, it doesn't end the night, but it gets things moving in that direction. Which means that, biologically speaking, melatonin is more of a lullaby than a knockout punch. Still, you feel it working now. As you lie there, sinking, floating, your body eases into its rhythm. The soft tide rises behind your eyes. You don't have to try on. Melatonin doesn't need effort, it needs quiet. It needs darkness. And maybe, just maybe, a little moonlight. You're floating now, not on a bed, not on your pillow, but inside yourself. Somewhere between cells and sensation, you drift in a tide of salt and silence. But here's the soft surprise, that salt, it's ancient. It's not just seasoning, it's structure. It's how your body remembers the sea. Sodium and chloride, those two tiny ions, humming through your bloodstream like quiet percussionists, keeping your hearts beat, your thoughts sparking, your muscles twitching just enough. Without salt, there's no rhythm. Without rhythm, there's no sleep. Your inner ocean isn't just metaphor. It's brine biology. You might not realize it, but every sigh you release carries with it trace sodium and chloride. Every tear you shed, grief, laughter, or drowsy joy, is a saltwater offering. And the reason they sting a little, that slight burn, that's your body reminding you that emotion too is mineralized. In fact, the balance of salt in your body is so precise, so fiercely guarded, that your kidneys perform a microscopic ballet every hour, filtering, retaining, releasing. They're not just waste managers. They're tidekeepers. Back in ancient Egypt, healers believed the body contained rivers that needed to flow freely to prevent disease. One hieroglyph depicted the kidneys as twin water jars, pouring liquid through channels of life. Historians still argue whether these illustrations reflected spiritual metaphor or early anatomical insight, but they weren't entirely wrong. Your kidneys do pour every moment. And just like the tides outside, your internal salinity rises and falls. At night, your body draws water inward, conserving moisture, lowering urine output, keeping you tucked in like the sea pulling back from the shore. Salt isn't the villain some low-sodium yogurt commercials make it out to be. It's essential. Too much is dangerous, yet but too little, equally unbalanced. The trick always is rhythm. Let's dip a toe into fringe territory. Some practitioners of Japanese Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, believe that inhaling negative ions in misty forests can reset your body's salt balance at a cellular level. There's little hard data to back this, but anecdotal reports abound. People sleeping better after forest exposure, feeling clearer, cleaner, lighter. Is it placebo? Is it real? Even the most skeptical researchers agree. Something is happening. The debate remains suspended like dew on a pine branch. Meanwhile, your body continues its quiet chemistry. Every cell, bathed in saline, whispers across membranes with electrochemical pulses. Sodium rushes in, potassium balances. Chloride whispers hello and moves along. This silent circuitry is what lets you dream, remember, heal. You're more advanced than salt water, of course, but salt water is where it all starts. Take your cerebrospinal fluid clear, cold, and softly salted. It cushions your brain like a gentle tide, flowing in rhythm with your heartbeat and breath. Researchers recently discovered it pulses during sleep, syncing with slow brain waves and washing metabolic waste away like a neural high tide. It's called the glymphatic system, and it only works when you rest deeply. Yes, your brain has a tide, a literal one, and it waits patiently for melatonin's signal to begin. Think about that. While you sleep, a salty stream surges through the crevices of your mind, rinsing away the day. Thoughts, stress hormones, tiny molecular clutter swept out to sea, all without you lifting a finger. Even stranger, this cerebrospinal tide aligns with your sleep cycle. The deeper your sleep, the stronger the surge. So yes, dreaming is cleansing, forgetting is functional, and salt, that humble mineral, is your co-pilot through it all. Want one more sleepy twist? Tibetan monks in some monasteries drink salted butter tea before meditation. It's not just cultural, it's physiological. The salt provides gentle stimulation, keeping the body alert, while the fat soothes the nerves. The goal isn't to sleep, but to hover just at the edge of consciousness, in that liminal space where the mind can observe itself. You, too, are there now. Drowsy, but aware. Relaxed, but listening. Somewhere in your bloodstream, sodium levels adjust, quietly preparing for overnight recalibration. Your brain, cued by melatonin and darkness, has instructed the kidneys to slow. Your bladder, ever faithful, is told to stand down. The ocean is at low tide, and it's perfect. It's hard to believe, but in every breath you take, you exhale a little moisture, a little salt. You're not just breathing in, you're gently distilling yourself. That's why you wake up drier, sometimes with that sleepy sandpaper tongue. It's not dehydration, it's tide shift. This is also why, in traditional Nordic sleeping rituals, a pinch of sea salt in warm milk was said to promote dreamless sleep. No spike in blood sugar, just warmth, salt, and gentle closure. Even now, as you lie there, your body negotiates with itself. Blood pressure lowers, electrolytes drift. The inner sea goes still. No waves, no sound, just salt and silence. You're not just asleep, you're adrift. Somewhere beneath the rhythm of your breath, a deeper tide has begun to stir. Not in your brain, not in your bloodstream, but in your bones, in your marrow, in the places your conscious self never quite reaches. This is where the circadian rhythm hides its soft machinery. By now, you've probably heard of it. Circadian rhythm, that elegant 24-hour loop that tells you when to sleep, wake, eat, dream, yawn, stretch, and repeat. But what you might not know is that this rhythm doesn't just tick in your brain. It hums in every cell, every tissue, every sleepy corner of your biology. Yes, even your toenails have clocks. Technically, let's start at the top. Your master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, say that 3 times fast while half asleep, is tucked inside your hypothalamus, just above the optic nerves. It reads light, tracks time, sends out signals to the rest of your body saying, okay, everybody, time to wind down. Think of it as the conductor of a very drowsy orchestra. And when darkness falls, the music slows. But here's where it gets cozy. Those signals ripple outward like bedtime gossip, telling your liver to stop processing caffeine, your stomach to stop gurgling for snacks, your skin to cool just a little. Your body isn't shutting down. It's shifting modes. It's lighting candles, metaphorically. Interestingly, circadian rhythms aren't perfectly 24 hours. Most human clocks naturally drift a little longer, around 24.2 hours, which means that without environmental cues like sunrise and sunset, you'd slowly become nocturnal. This has been observed in cave studies. Yes, people volunteered to live in pitch-black caves for months at a time, and their rhythms gradually slid out of sync with the world. Historians still argue whether early human tribes followed strict sunrise schedules or lived by more intuitive cycles, resting in cloudy afternoons, waking before moonset, napping between storms. Sleep wasn't always a single long stretch. Sometimes it came in two acts. The so-called segmented sleep theory suggests that humans once slept in two chunks. A first sleep after dusk, then a wakeful creative period around midnight, followed by a second sleep until dawn. You weren't broken for waking up at 3 a.m., you were ancient. And what guided those sleep phases is the shifting cues of light, warmth, and quiet ashwan, okay, the circadian trio. Here's a delightful fringe notion. Some anthropologists believe that firelight, the specific hue and flicker of open flame, entrained early circadian rhythms more effectively than sunlight. It soothed rather than stimulated. Flame was the original bedtime playlist. Modern circadian science confirms that amber and red hues suppress less melatonin than blue light. This is why many phones now offer your night mode, not just a gimmick, it's a tiny bow to evolution. Even more poetic, the light-sensitive proteins that control your circadian rhythm, called cryptochromes, are related to those in plants. So in a way, you and sunflowers respond to time in similar ways. You turn toward light, you slow in the dark. And that's not just sleep, that's cosmic choreography. But here's where things get quietly tangled. Your internal clocks, yes, plural, can fall out of sync with each other. Jet lag is the obvious example, but shift work, stress, and even irregular meals can misalign your rhythm. Your liver might still think it's lunchtime when your brain wants a lullaby. Your gut, which has its own internal timekeeper, might rebel. Cue bloating, insomnia, vague anxiety, all because your cellular clocks got out of step. This is why routine helps, not rigidity, just rhythm. Waking at roughly the same time, eating with the sun, cooling your room at night. These tiny habits send love notes to your inner clocks. You're safe. You can rest. And remember this gem, melatonin isn't just about sleep. It's also a timekeeper. It tells your body where it is on the biological calendar. Levels of melatonin change across the year, subtly syncing with the seasons. In winter, you may produce more, which is why you crave naps when the days shorten. You're not lazy, you're lunar. Want a fringe but fascinating fact? Some Inuit communities living in extreme polar night conditions historically develop seasonal rest rhythms rather than a standard sleep schedule, dozing throughout the day, guided by temperature and dream states rather than sunlight. Modern researchers studying their sleep architecture found irregular but stable patterns. Sleep, it turns out, adapts. So what does this mean for you, tucked into your cozy sheets tonight? It means your body listens. It waits for consistency, not perfection. You're allowed to fall out of rhythm. You're allowed to come back. Your clocks are patient. The music can start again at any time. And as you drift deeper now, feel the quiet cadence of your body slowing. Heartbeat softening. Breath stretching out. Temperature dipping like dusk on a desert. You are right on time. You're in the thick of it now. The salt, the rhythms, the invisible clocks ticking quietly under your skin. But there's one player you haven't quite felt yet. One small pine cone-shaped gatekeeper that opens only when night truly settles. The pineal gland. It sounds mystical, doesn't it? Like something an old apothecary would keep in a jar next to dragon root and powdered moonstone. But it's real. It lives in the center of your brain, tucked snugly between the two hemispheres, right where ancient traditions said your soul might reside. And it's responsible for something very small and very powerful. Melatonin, the sleep molecule, the silent signal, the slow curtain call of consciousness. Your pineal gland makes melatonin when darkness falls. But it's not a factory, it's a translator. It listens to your eyes. Not your vision, necessarily, but the light your retina detects. If your eyes see light, especially that sneaky, bluish glow from screens, the gland stays silent. But when the world dims, the pineal begins to whisper. Melatonin doesn't knock you out like a sedative. It simply says, it's time. Like a dinner bell in a sleepy summer house. Your brain slows. Body temperature drops. Cortisol, the wake-up hormone, slips away into the wings. And sleep walks softly on stage. Now here's where things get curious. Melatonin isn't just in humans. It's found in animals, yes, but also in plants, bacteria, even algae. It's ancient. Some researchers believe it predates life on land. a molecule older than bones. Historians still argue whether early healers knew what melatonin was chemically, but some cultures certainly intuited its power. In traditional Ayurvedic medicine, for example, nighttime rituals called dinacharya involved oiling the scalp and massaging the temples exactly 1 hour after sunset. Not for hygiene, for harmony. Practitioners believe this time aligned with the body's tamas energy, the sleep phase. Coincidence? Or did they feel what science now measures? And fringe fact for the night, the pineal gland contains tiny amounts of something called magnetite, yes, as in magnetic mineral. Some believe it helps you sense geomagnetic shifts. Others dismiss it as evolutionary residue. But in birds, magnetite helps with migration navigating by Earth's magnetic field. So what if your dreams are partly guided by an inner compass? Don't worry, no one's expecting you to fly south for the winter. But it's a poetic notion, isn't it? That a tiny part of your brain might feel magnetic north. The pineal gland has long been associated with dreams, intuition, and even mystical experience. Descartes called it the seat of the soul. He might have been wrong about the details, but he was right about the awe. This little gland is where biology and wonder hold hands. Now let's go microscopic again. Melatonin isn't just for sleep, it's also a powerful antioxidant. While you dream, it scavenges free radicals, protects brain tissue, supports immune response. Think of it like a cleaning service that only shows up once the lights are off. And the best part? It's homemade. Your body brews it with the right ingredients: darkness, quiet, and time. But your modern world isn't great at darkness, is it? Streetlights slip through the blinds, phone screens glow until 2 a.m. Even your fridge has a sneaky little bulb waiting to ruin the mood. It's no wonder so many people feel like sleep is something to achieve, not simply receive. Your pineal gland is still trying, though, still listening. This is why small rituals help. Dimming the lights, blue light filters, a soft lamp instead of a blazing bulb. Even warm socks can cue the pineal. It reads body temperature like a bedtime story. And in case you need a weirder detail, some amphibians have a literal third eye called a parietal eye, sensitive to light and connected to their pineal gland. Imagine having an eye on the top of your head that just tells you, hey, it's nighttime. Efficient, honestly. You may not have that eye, but your skin, your brain, your rhythms, they still know. Tonight, melatonin is rising. You can't feel it directly, but maybe you sense the shift, that weight behind your eyelids, that tug at your thoughts, that subtle pull away from logic toward images and sense and feelings. You're not just tired, you're ready. In certain Himalayan sleep ceremonies, practitioners drink a blend of warm ghee, saffron, and rosewater before bed. Not to sedate, but to coax the pineal open, to invite the dreaming. It's said to soften the boundary between waking and sleep. Science doesn't quite confirm it, but there's melatonin in saffron. So who knows, the pineal doesn't need proof, it just needs the night. You're giving it that now, no alarm, no need to watch the clock. Just the gland, the dark, the gentle tide of melatonin washing over your neural shore. Sleep is coming, not loudly, but like fog on a forest path. You're already halfway gone. By now, your body is curling inward like a fern at dusk. There's melatonin in your bloodstream. There's salt on your skin. There's rhythm in your breath. And somewhere beneath all that, a quieter system is beginning to take over. One with no gears or wires, no loud alarms or harsh commands, just a soft, pulsing flow. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. Or, if you prefer bedtime names, the rest and digest mode. You spend most of your waking hours in its louder sibling, the sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight mode. Alert, active, managing your inbox and dodging potholes. But now your body is switching lanes, swapping cortisol for calm, pressing the quiet button. It starts with your vagus nerve. This nerve is a wanderer. Vagus means wandering in Latin, and it lives up to its name. It travels from your brainstem down through your neck, touches your heart, lungs, stomach, even your intestines. It's like your body's internal lullaby player. When the vagus nerve is activated, things start to slow. Your heart rate drops, digestion kicks in, muscles loosen, blood pressure settles like sand in a jar. You begin to feel safe. That's no accident. The vagus nerve evolved to tell your body, the saber-toothed tiger is gone now, you can rest. Today it handles things like deep breathing, sighing, humming, and that peculiar feeling you get when someone strokes your hair. It's your inner spa technician. Fringe fact incoming, some researchers believe the vagus nerve can be gently stimulated by gargling or singing. That's right. Grandma's old humming before bed routine may have had more science in it than we gave her credit for. Even the simple act of exhaling longer than you inhale sends a message. It's okay, you're okay. Historians still argue whether ancient cultures understood the vagus nerve as an anatomical structure, but its effects, they definitely noticed. In traditional Chinese medicine, slow abdominal breathing was taught to calm the Shen, the spirit mind. In Egypt, temple healers prescribed humming chants in caves designed to echo back at a soothing frequency. Imagine falling asleep to your own voice, bouncing gently through limestone corridors. That's bedtime with reverb. Let's take a quick pit stop at your heart. Your heart doesn't just beat, it listens. It listens to your breath, your thoughts, your fears. And when the vagus nerve is activated, your heart begins to sync with your breath. This is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. And don't worry, it sounds scarier than it is. It just means your heart rate rises when you inhale and falls when you exhale. It's a good thing. It's a sign your nervous system is flexible, adaptable, not frozen in stress. Tonight, as you lay here, your heart is likely doing that subtle dance, expanding, releasing, keeping time to a rhythm older than clocks. And what supports this rest and digest magic? Salt, oddly enough. Sodium balance helps regulate blood pressure, nerve impulses, hydration, all key elements in how your nervous system communicates. Too much salt can overstimulate, yes, but too little, and the orchestra goes out of tune. This is why your body craves salt after a long sweat or an emotional release. Tears are salty for a reason. There's poetry in that. Your body's sorrow is seasoned. Let's zoom even closer. Your stomach, now unwinding under the vagus nerve spell, is prepping for repair mode, not digestion deep maintenance. Your gut lining regenerates. Microbes shift. In fact, your microbiome has its own sleep cycle, influenced by your nervous system and the foods you've eaten. And the vagus nerve? It's the direct hotline between brain and gut. Scientists now refer to it as the gut-brain axis. And it's not just trendy wellness jargon. It's real. You've probably felt it before, those butterflies in your stomach before a speech, that pit of dread after bad news, that sleepy warmth after a cozy dinner. The vagus nerve carries those messages back and forth. It's a two-way lullaby. And what about dreams? They often begin here in the quiet of a soothed nervous system. When the inner chatter slows, the background music fades, and your body says, all clear. Some fringe sleep traditions use gentle tapping on the sternum to stimulate vagus response. Others light frankincense, which contains compounds shown to reduce inflammation and anxiety, another boost for your rest and digest mode. Historians debate whether ancient Roman baths with their cold plunges followed by warm pools were an early form of vagus therapy. Either way, the result was the same, a full body exhale. So tonight, you're bathing in quiet without ever leaving your bed. Your vagus nerve is humming, your gut is listening, your heart is dancing with your breath. Salt rests on your skin like ancient memory, and beneath all of it, you drift. You don't need to understand every signal or memorize every term. Your body already knows what to do. You just need to lie there. Let go. This is your real superpower. Surrender. You're not alone in this quiet. Your body might feel still, but deep down, something astonishing is happening. Repairs, restorations, whispered instructions between your cells, passed along like bedtime notes. And in this sleepy flurry, one of the most underrated organs in your entire body quietly takes the stage. Your liver. Don't roll your eyes. Yes, it's usually the subject of boring health lectures or stern warnings from your doctor. But here in the dark, the liver becomes a quiet alchemist, a nighttime librarian, flipping through every chemical you've encountered today. Organizing, filtering, whispering, keep this, toss that, burn this for fuel, store this for later. And best of all, it loves the night shift. Your liver follows a circadian rhythm just like you. In fact, it's been shown to have its own internal clock genes. Around 2 to 4 a.m., it kicks into high gear, performing metabolic miracles you'll never consciously feel. Detoxifying? Yes, but also resetting hormone levels, regulating blood sugar, and preparing your body for the next day's work. Historians still argue whether medieval physicians knew the liver worked in cycles. But many ancient healing systems emphasize eating your largest meal at midday, not dinner, so the liver wouldn't be overburdened during its sacred midnight duties. Maybe they were onto something. And then there's the salt again. The liver doesn't run on caffeine or applause. It needs minerals, electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, those invisible characters in the bloodstream symphony. A balanced salt level helps your liver manage blood pressure and hydrate cells during this critical phase. Too much salt, and the system stiffens. Too little, though, and the whispers become static. Just enough, and the dream continues. Fringe science alert. There are researchers studying how exposure to dim red light before bed can enhance liver enzyme activity. It's not a mainstream prescription yet, but it echoes ancient practices like Ayurvedic firelight therapy, where a small oil lamp was left flickering beside a sleeping person to nourish internal energy flows. You have to admit it's a lovely visual. Now you might be wondering, how does the liver actually know when it's night? It listens, not to your clock, but to your behavior. When you eat, when you move. When you stop scrolling through endless cat videos and turn off the lamp, it responds to your patterns. If your rhythms are chaotic, the liver gets confused. It's like trying to alphabetize a library where the books keep moving. This is why sleep timing matters, not just for your brain, but for every organ. Your liver also plays matchmaker between sleep and hormones. It processes estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, all those mood and mind molecules that shift through the day. And women in particular often feel this relationship keenly. Hormonal fluctuations tied to menstruation, perimenopause, or even the full moon can change the liver's processing power, making some nights more restless than others. Which brings us to a lovely historical detour. In certain Pacific Island traditions, it was believed that the liver held mana life energy. Women were thought to store their intuitive power there. Rituals before sleep sometimes included placing warm stones on the belly or sipping a salt tea infusion to unclog emotional buildup. Science may not back all of that, but honestly, wouldn't you feel soothed by a warm stone and a whisper? Your liver, like your heart and brain, needs quiet time, a lull in the noise. So as you drift tonight, it's doing the work of 100 tiny janitors, sweeping toxins, folding proteins, rebalancing blood chemistry like an elegant night crew with tiny brooms and headlamps. And while we're here, fun trivia, your liver can regenerate. You probably knew that. But did you know that if you cut away 70% of it, it can grow back to full size in just a few weeks? It's one of the only organs with this superpower, kind of like Wolverine, but with enzymes and bile instead of claws. This regenerative gift is deeply tied to sleep. Studies show that people who are chronically sleep deprived have a harder time recovering from liver stress. Sleep isn't just for dreams, it's for rebuilding, which makes every hour you're horizontal tonight a donation to your own healing. So take a deep breath. Picture your liver glowing gently in the dark, like a lantern under your ribs. It's not asking for gratitude or applause. It's just doing what it's always done, turning the chaos of your day into something usable, something that fuels your morning. And if your dreams feel a little clearer tonight, if your heartbeat softens into something musical, if your muscles feel a little less clenched, thank the quiet alchemist, let the liver do its work. You just keep resting. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Now let's dive even deeper into places no light reaches and no conscious thought can guide. You are an entire galaxy of cells, and within each of them, quiet teams are hard at work under the cover of sleep. This section belongs to one of your body's most discreet and most vital night workers, your glymphatic system. Never heard of it? That's okay. Most people haven't. Discovered only recently, the glymphatic system is your brain's personal rinses cycle. It's a network of glial cells and channels that flush out waste from your brain while you sleep. Yes, your brain has a plumbing system. And it only turns on during deep, dreamy, out-cold sleep. Imagine that, tiny rivers of cerebrospinal fluid flowing through your brain, sweeping away the day's toxins. Beta amyloid proteins? Gone. Cellular debris? Mental static? Swished away like soap bubbles. But here's the catch: you must be asleep for the valves to open. Not half awake scrolling through memes. Not faking sleep while worrying about tomorrow's email. Truly, deeply asleep. Historians still argue whether early Ayurvedic practitioners knew this system existed in any formal sense. But texts from 2,000 years ago emphasized mental washing during the third stage of sleep and prescribed oil pulling and nasal rinses upon waking to drain dream waste. Spooky, right? Fringe fact: sleeping on your side may help lymphatic flow. Yes, really. Studies in rodents suggest that side sleeping allows cerebrospinal fluid to drain more efficiently, possibly reducing long-term risk of neurodegenerative diseases. So that comfy fetal curl? Evolution might have nudged you there on purpose. Let's take it even smaller now, down to the cellular level. Each one of your cells, from bone to skin to neuron, follows its own circadian rhythm. They literally know what time it is, based on signals like light exposure, hormone pulses, even your core body temperature. And during sleep, especially deep sleep, these cells begin to switch into restoration mode. DNA gets repaired, antioxidants get deployed, damaged proteins get recycled. It's a molecular janitor's ball in there. And while all this happens, melatonin is still floating around, not just telling your brain to sleep, but protecting it. Melatonin is also an antioxidant, neutralizing cellular stress and damage from the day. That blue light you looked at too late, the stress from rush hour traffic, the skipwood hydration. Melatonin's working overtime to fix it. And guess what else supports this repair dance? Salt. Not table salt alone, but the gentle ebb and flow of sodium and potassium between your cells, which determines how they charge, fire, communicate. That balance is called your sodium-potassium pump, and it is essential to every single electric message in your nervous system. Without that rhythmic exchange, your neurons would just sit there, blank-eyed and mute. So when your inner ocean is in balance, your brainwaves shift into that coveted, slow delta sleep. That's when the glymphatic system is most active. That's when real healing begins. And that's when you, floating in the quiet like a jellyfish in warm water, are most deeply you. The fringe wisdom of Japanese forest monks included lying still for an hour after waking to let the brain finish clearing fog. Modern science might call that delayed glymphatic activity. Either way, it's kind of lovely, this idea that clarity can't be rushed. Want a dreamy comparison? Your sleeping brain is like a coral reef at night, still delicate, alive with microflows. Invisible creatures emerge. Waste floats upward, carried by slow tides. And in the morning, everything looks a little cleaner. This is why people say, sleep on it, because they're hoping that overnight the mental clutter will get rinsed away. That new insight will rise to the surface. That something wiser than thought will do the heavy lifting. They're usually right. Now imagine, inside your skull, the tide is receding, slowly, gently, pulling out the day's clutter, making space for tomorrow. You don't have to control any of this. It happens on its own when you let go. When you stop trying, when your muscles give in to gravity, and your breath becomes a background hum. Tonight, your glymphatic system is clocking in. Salt is balancing, melatonin is guarding, the tides are turning inward. And you're just floating. Let's stay suspended in that quiet drift for a moment longer. You're weightless now, or nearly so. Your body slackens into the bed like a tide pool creature settling into soft sand. Inside, though, something fascinating begins. An invisible symphony involving the rhythm of your breath, the flow of your blood, and a mysterious little nerve that science is still learning to truly understand. Let's talk about the vagus nerve. If your body were a ship, the vagus nerve would be its whispering captain, calling instructions from the shadows. It runs from your brainstem all the way down through your neck, chest, lungs, heart, and into your gut, an elegant wandering highway of signals. Its name, in fact, comes from the Latin vagus, meaning wandering. And wander it does. What does it do? Oh, just a little bit of everything. It slows your heart rate, it deepens your breath, it softens your voice, it calms digestion, it nudges your immune system into peacekeeping mode. And during sleep, it's one of the main actors in the great nightly shift from sympathetic go-go-go mode to parasympathetic rest and digest tranquility. Historians still argue whether ancient Greek physicians understood the nervous system in this level of detail. But there are tantalizing records suggesting early massage techniques were designed to quiet the pulse through the throat, which sounds suspiciously vagusy to modern ears. Here's where it gets cozy. Stimulating your vagus nerve can make you sleepy. Seriously, you don't need gadgets or brain implants, just a few gentle tricks. Humming, slow breathing, gargling, splashing cool water on your face, massaging the sides of your neck, even slow, mindful chewing. All of these actions, especially near bedtime, help activate the vagus nerve and coax your body into a sleepy state. Some researchers even call it a meditative lever. Pull it and your whole body exhales. And that's not all. Your vagus nerve is deeply intertwined with your gut. That means every sip of herbal tea, every spoonful of warm miso, every salted almond or drop of honey that touches your tongue sends signals downstream. And upstream, gut to brain, brain to gut. A sleepy two-way street paved in neurotransmitters and lined with serotonin street lamps. In fact, over 80% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. Your vagus nerve helps deliver the messages that turn that serotonin into melatonin at bedtime. It's like a postal service for dreams. Fringe wellness circles love talking about toning the vagus nerve. And while the science is still evolving, it's clear that breathwork, cold exposure, and even chanting can increase vagal tone, which is essentially how responsive and balanced the nerve is. Higher tone, calmer body. Lower tone, frazzled nervous system. Women, by the way, often experience vagus nerve sensitivity during hormonal changes. Menstrual cramps, pregnancy, even intense emotions can stir this nerve, leading to dizzy spells, fainting, or sudden tears. It's not weakness, it's wiring. The vagus nerve connects your internal state to your external expressions. In some indigenous Andean traditions, bedtime rituals include a gentle chest tapping and rhythmic humming to settle the river in the throat. It might sound poetic, but that's the vagus nerve territory. They were tuning their inner strings. Now close your eyes for a second, just pretend, if they're not already closed. Picture a single thread, golden and warm, trailing from your brainstem down through your neck, chest, and belly. Every inhale brushes against it like silk. Every exhale plucks it like a lullaby string. That's your vagus nerve, cradling you into parasympathetic bliss. And while we're here, one fun fact for your sleepy trivia shelf. During deep states of relaxation, some people experience a tingling at the back of the neck or scalp, often described as ASMR. While there's debate over what causes it, some neurologists believe the vagus nerve might be involved, triggering the body's rest response through sensory channels. You're not imagining it. You are, in this moment, a quiet orchestra. Your heart rate slows, your breathing lengthens, your belly softens, your eyelids flutter just slightly. The vagus nerve is playing conductor now, easing the body toward deeper stages of rest. And guess what? Salt plays a supporting role here too. The vagus nerve regulates blood pressure and hydration signals, and those signals are tuned by electrolyte levels, especially sodium and potassium. Too much salt might overstimulate the system, but just enough helps nerves fire and reset with grace. So tonight, if you had a light mineral-rich dinner, maybe a hint of seaweed or warm broth, you've given the vagus nerve its favorite environment: warm, calm, nourished, and dimly lit. Now drift deeper. Let the hum of your body slow. You're a tide pulled inward by moonlight. Your inner ocean obeys rhythms older than language. The vagus nerve keeps time. By now, you've probably noticed something curious. Your body is far more rhythmic than mechanical. You're not a machine. You're a soft, sensory creature, swayed more by moonlight and memory than strict commands. Which brings us gently to a sleepy little structure near the center of your brain, the pineal gland. It's tiny, smaller than a grain of rice. But don't let its size fool you. It's one of the most mysterious parts of your inner ocean. often referred to, half-jokingly, as the third eye. It's shaped like a pine cone, hence the name, and it's nestled deep between your brain's two hemispheres, tucked in near your thalamus like a secret. What does it do? Mostly it makes melatonin. Yes, that dreamy little molecule you've heard about since section 1. But this time, we're going upstream, to the source, the place where sleep actually begins. The pineal gland doesn't just spit out melatonin randomly, it listens for cues. Darkness, quiet, cool air, soft voices, a regular routine. When it senses those signals, it begins to secrete melatonin into your bloodstream like a whisper, not a shout. And then the body listens. Heart rate slows, body temperature drops, muscles loosen. You feel the pull, not just of sleep, but of inwardness. Historians still argue whether early Egyptian mystics saw the pineal gland as the literal seat of the soul. But they certainly drew it into their iconography. The Eye of Horus bears a striking anatomical resemblance to a cross-section of the brain, pineal gland included. Coincidence? Probably. Maybe not. Hard to say with old magic. In medieval Ayurvedic practice, practitioners believed a light center existed deep in the head, activated by dreams and rhythmic breath. Some even practiced lunar gazing, staring at the moon's reflection on water to soften the mind's eye. Again, pineal adjacent. Here's a fringe tidbit you'll want to tuck away for your next sleepy trivia night. The pineal gland may actually have photoreceptive cells. That's right. Some scientists believe it evolved from a kind of primitive eye in early vertebrates, which is why some reptiles and birds still have a parietal eye that helps regulate their circadian rhythms. So somewhere inside you is the echo of an ancient eye, not for seeing the world, but for sensing time. That's why light, or the absence of it, is the most powerful cue for melatonin. Blue light especially tells your pineal gland to stand down. It's morning somewhere, it says. You can stop dripping sleep now. That's why bedtime screen use messes with your rhythm. Your ancient eye gets confused. There's something elegant in that, though. Your body takes its orders not from clocks or apps or reminders, but from the sky. You're still tied to the rhythm of the sun and moon, still a creature of dusk and dawn, still soft around the edges. Now imagine your pineal gland glowing ever so faintly in the dark, like a lighthouse inside your brain, flashing a signal. It's time. Time to stop doing, stop proving, stop reaching, time to let the night carry you. And salt? Oh yes, salt helps here too. The pineal gland is nestled within a sea of cerebral spinal fluid, rich with sodium and potassium. Electrolyte balance affects how well melatonin gets distributed through the brain and body. Without the right balance, the signal gets fuzzy, like static on an old radio. That's why hydration matters. Not just how much water, but what's in it. Minerals, trace elements, the quiet alchemy of salt and water. It all connects. Some cultures believe dreams traveled through the body like wind through water, steered by the pineal gland. In Cherokee tradition, dream time was seen as a visit to another realm, navigated by breath and inner light. Sound familiar? You've likely had nights when you fall asleep staring at nothing and wake with a full story in your head. That's your pineal gland doing its weird, silent job. Making melatonin, regulating time, opening doors you didn't know existed. We'll end tonight's pineal tour with one last image. Picture a drop of dark honey deep in your brain, glowing softly. It melts into your blood. It carries the night signal outward, to lungs, limbs, organs, cells. And like waves following a moon, your body responds. It's time. Sleep isn't coming, it's already here. Let's linger in that slow drift, that syrupy melt. Your inner tide is steady now. You're not falling asleep. You're dissolving into it. From your limbs inward, from your breath outward. And now let's go to your specifically to the world inside your gut, your microbiome. Tens of trillions of microbes living and thriving and gossiping in the dark. They're not passengers, they're cohabitants. You're not one creature, you're many. But here's the truly dreamy part. Your gut bacteria play a role in sleep. Yep, the little beings inside you help make, regulate and signal the very chemicals that tuck you in each night. Melatonin, serotonin, dopamine, they're influenced by your microbial community. And not gently. We're talking full-blown neighborhood watch meets brain chemistry. Historians still argue whether ancient fermentation rituals were purely about food preservation or if they were early gut health practices in disguise. Either way, our ancestors were closer to their microbes than we are now. In fact, the Japanese practice of drinking warm miso soup before bed, not just comfort food, it's rich in probiotics, it soothes the belly, and for some, it softens the mind. Coincidence? Unlikely. Let's go microscopic for a second. Some bacteria in your gut produce the short-chain fatty acids that cross into the bloodstream and affect your brain's inflammation levels, stress resilience, and yes, sleep depth. Others assist in the conversion of tryptophan, found in oats, turkey, and pumpkin seeds, into serotonin, which eventually becomes melatonin. So when you snack late at night, you're not just feeding yourself, you're feeding the whole inner garden. And they, in turn, decide how easily you'll drift off. It's a feedback loop. You sleep, they thrive. They thrive, you sleep. When you're sleep deprived, they get cranky. You know that feeling when your digestion is off after a bad night's sleep? That's a minor gut rebellion. But it's not just about food. Your microbes are also influenced by light, temperature, and stress. They have their own circadian rhythms. Yes, your bacteria have body clocks too. They know when it's night. They know when you've been doom scrolling instead of winding down. Here's a fringe tidbit for your inner weirdo. Some researchers believe that the microbiome might communicate with the brain not just chemically, but electrically. Bioelectricity, tiny pulses, like the whisper of a deep-sea radio. Science hasn't confirmed it fully yet, but if it turns out to be true, you're hosting an invisible light show every night in your digestive tract. Now let's soften things. There's something tender about tending to your microbiome, something maternal even. It's like tucking in a garden before winter. Gentle food, low light, maybe a warm mug of chamomile. Not just for your nerves, but for theirs too. Fermented foods, prebiotic fibers, a little raw honey, gentle herbs like fennel or ginger. These are lullabies for the gut. And salt? It plays a curious role. While excessive sodium can disrupt microbial diversity, trace minerals found in natural sea salts, magnesium, calcium, potassium, support microbial communication and enzyme activity. Balance is everything. Think of salt not as flavor, but as a conductor. Too loud and the music distorts. Just right and the symphony breathes. In some traditional Korean sleep rituals, families would end the evening with a light soup made from fermented vegetables and anchovy broth. Not just for taste, not just for warmth, but because they believed it made dreams sweeter. And you know what? They were probably right. Gut-brain research is still unfolding, but the direction is clear. Your belly is not just a storage space. It's a sensory organ. It feels the night. It responds to touch, temperature, and tenderness. So as you lie here in the quiet, consider this. You are more than skin and bone and breath. You're a planet wrapped in warm sheets, teeming with life. Some of those lives are falling asleep with you. Others are just waking up to do their work. And their work, their delicate biological ballet, helps create your dreams. So take a breath. Let your belly rise, then fall. Imagine each inhale lighting a gentle lamp in your gut, a microbial nightlight, casting its glow on tiny citizens. They nod, they stretch, they get to work. You sleep, they sing. Let's leave the glowing garden of your belly and float toward, just a little, to something more subtle but just as profound. Your skin. You probably think of it as a protective shell, a passive wrapper, maybe even a fashion statement. But your skin is so much more than that. It's your largest organ, your boundary and your antenna, a map of nerves and quiet signals. And yes, your skin has its own circadian rhythm. From temperature regulation to hormone absorption to sensory calibration, your skin is not just along for the ride. It participates, it anticipates, it even gets sleepy. Take melatonin again. You already know the pineal gland produces it, but did you know your skin can too? That's right. Under the right conditions, darkness, cool temperatures, absence of stress, your skin cells begin to produce small amounts of melatonin locally. Why? No one fully knows. Historians still argue whether early Roman bathhouse rituals that ended in darkened cooling rooms were meant to activate this process or were just, well, very stylish naps. There's something to this idea of sleep as a full-body agreement, not just brain waves, not just gut chemistry, but skin too, softening, lowering its vigilance, becoming more porous to the night. Now imagine the role of salt here. Not just dietary sodium, but literal salt on skin. In some indigenous Andean traditions, warm salt compresses were used to ease nighttime anxiety. The gentle weight, the mineral warmth, it soothed the body. Today you might recognize the echo of that in Epsom salt baths. Magnesium-rich, heat-retaining, often paired with lavender oil, which may lower cortisol through your skin's scent receptors. Which brings us to scent. Aromatherapy isn't just wishful thinking. It's ancient sensory science. Your skin, your nose, and your nervous system are connected through one silky web. The olfactory bulb, just behind your nose, has a direct line to the limbic system, the part of your brain involved in emotion and memory. That's why a single whiff of cedar or chamomile can make your shoulders drop. But here's where it gets delightfully weird. Some skin cells have their own olfactory receptors. Yes, your skin can smell in a way, especially certain molecules that come from essential oils and plant compounds. Lavender, sandalwood, neroli, these aren't just fragrances. They're biochemical nudges. They tell your cells, soften, repair, rest. That's why ancient Egyptian sleep ointments often contain blends of oil and crushed botanicals. Not just for smell, but for transdermal healing. A slow seep of calm. Want a fringe tidbit? Some Japanese researchers discovered that the skin on your forearm is particularly responsive to temperature changes in scent, making it a prime zone for both herbal compresses and dreamy perfumes. That's why dabbing essential oils there, or behind the ears, isn't just tradition. It's gentle neurology. Your skin also cools at night, slightly, imperceptibly. This drop in temperature signals the body it's time to slow down, to conserve. That's why cool rooms aid sleep. That's why silk sheets feel so delicious. It's not luxury, it's biology. Even the act of skincare, gentle washing, soft cloths, moisturizing, can signal safety to your nervous system. You're touching yourself with kindness. You're preparing your surface for stasis. You're saying, I'm here. I'm safe. I'm done for today. Historians still argue whether the elaborate nighttime routines of Korean royalty were vanity or subtle self-hypnosis, but their sleep chambers, filled with herbal smoke, low beds, and rice husk pillows laced with mugwort. That's not just aesthetic, that's sensory sedation. Here's something easy you can do tomorrow. Try warm water with a few pinches of natural salt and a drop of essential oil. Soak a cloth, press it gently onto your neck, your shoulders, your chest. Let your skin taste minerals in scent and softness, then lie down. This is what your ancestors did in kaishans, yurts, temples, hammams, not to look good, to feel safe, to drift. So tonight, as your breath evens and your limbs loosen, let your skin join the sleep chorus. Imagine it exhaling, shedding the day, glowing with quiet melatonin. No alarms, no notifications, just cells sighing. You're not going to bed, you're going home, to the surface of yourself. You've arrived at the surface of yourself. That soft edge where body meets world is calm now, cool and breathable. So let's sink even further. Past the skin, past the belly garden, and into the rhythms beneath all of it. Let's talk about your blood. Not in the fast, dramatic vampire novel way. No horror here, just rhythm, pulse, tide. Your blood has a circadian rhythm of its own, a sleepy sort of intelligence. Hormone levels rise and fall within it. Sugar and salt shift. Oxygen dances in and out, like breath with a bloodstream. There's a tide within you, and it ebbs at night. While you sleep, your blood pressure drops and your heartbeat slows. The vessels widen a little, as if the highways inside you breathe easier in the dark. Doctors call this nocturnal dipping, but it feels more like a lullaby being sung by your arteries. Why does this matter? Because that nightly dip is part of how your body repairs itself. It helps regulate inflammation, gives your heart a break, and supports cellular cleaning processes. Your biological janitorial staff, clocking in after hours. Some historians believe early Greek physicians used salt rubs on the chest not just as exfoliants, but as primitive blood circulatory tonics. And while modern dermatology might have thoughts about that, the underlying instinct was interesting. Stimulate the skin to wake the blood beneath. But here's the soft twist. At night, your blood doesn't want stimulation. It wants stillness. You might be surprised to know that melatonin has an effect on blood vessels too. It relaxes them, opens them slightly. That's part of why you feel heavy-limbed when sleepiness hits. Your blood is flowing with less urgency, more surrender. And guess what else joins the blood's lullaby? Your salt balance. You see, sodium levels help control blood volume. Too much sodium, and your blood holds onto water like an anxious tourist. Too little, and your cells start to panic. But just the right mineral balance, which natural unrefined salts are better at providing, helps keep the blood in harmony. That's why rituals like hot foot soaks with magnesium-rich salts have persisted in cultures around the world. Not just to soothe sore muscles, but to coax circulation into calm patterns. From the feet upward, like drawing the tide in reverse. Quirky fact for your inner trivia goblin. In 17th century Europe, it was believed that placing a slice of salted apple under your pillow would prevent blood from boiling during sleep and protect you from nightmares. Scientifically sketchy. But metaphorically, not far off. It was a crude understanding of inflammation, after all. Modern science tells us something better, that a balance of salt, minerals, and sleep supports the endothelial lining of your blood vessels, the silky cells that let blood slide without friction. That lining is delicate. It hates stress, it loves sleep, and here's where your body gets poetic. At night, as your blood slows, your body diverts more of it toward internal maintenance. The brain gets cleaned, muscles rebuild, even tiny tears in vessel walls begin to heal. Your inner ocean gets a nightly tide pool moment, safe, still, regenerative. Historians still argue whether certain Polynesian chants sung at dusk were for spiritual protection or somatic calming. But those chants included breath pacing, belly drumming, and, you guessed it, stillness, all of which gently influence blood flow, breath rate, and muscular tension. Try this. Feel your pulse, not with your fingers, with your attention. Feel it in your hands, your feet, your throat. These aren't beats. These are reminders that your inner tide is still moving, still serving, even while the rest of you floats. And as it flows, it carries melatonin, glucose, oxygen, little whispers of sleep chemistry tucked into red boats, sailing past organs and dreams. If you listen closely, you might feel your pulse in your ears as you lie down. A soft underwater thump. That's your ocean, echoing. Tonight, your blood is moon-pulled and warm and slow. It knows what to do, so let go. Let it carry you. Your inner tide is carrying you now. Slower, deeper. The blood, the breath, the belly garden, all sinking to something older than thought. Let's go there. Let's talk about something you can't see but feel constantly, something that hums quietly inside you, like an invisible harp string plucked by mood, light, and touch. Your vagus nerve, it sounds like a spaceship, but it's very much terrestrial, the longest cranial nerve in your body. A wandering nerve, as its Latin name suggests. It travels from your brainstem, weaving through your neck, chest, heart, lungs, and down into your belly. It's the great communicator between your brain and your body's internal organs, the original text thread. And at night, when sleep beckons, the vagus nerve plays a starring role in lowering your heart rate, softening your breath, and anchoring your whole system into parasympathetic mode, the rest and digest state. Think of it like the conductor of your body's nighttime orchestra. You don't control it, not directly, but you can seduce it. Warm hands over your chest, slow exhales. gentle singing, light humming. All of these things stimulate the vagus nerve, especially humming, which is basically an internal massage for your neck and skull. Historians still argue whether ancient lullabies were for the child or for the parent's nervous system. But here's a cozy truth. A soft song sung into the night helps both bodies drop into that vagal rhythm, your voice, your breath, your body, in tune with sleep. Quirky tidbit for your bedtime trivia jar. In some Tibetan sleep rituals, practitioners would chant low-frequency mantras specifically believed to stimulate internal healing through vibration. Modern research shows that low tones resonate particularly well through the vagus nerve, activating its calming effect. And salt? It weaves its way in again. Your vagus nerve is sensitive to inflammation. And guess what helps regulate that? Mineral balance, electrolytes, tiny chemical harmonies. Natural salt, not the overprocessed kind, plays a gentle part in keeping this system from becoming reactive or overtaxed. Your vagus nerve doesn't speak in words. It speaks in signals. Tight chest, fluttering stomach, breath that won't quite settle. That's vagal unrest. It's not a flaw, it's a message. A subtle request for safety, for rhythm, for return. And nighttime is the natural time to give it that. Lying down slows gravity's pull on your organs. Your lungs feel differently. Your heart shifts slightly. And the vagus nerve feels it all. It thrives on your stillness. That's why certain bedtime rituals feel like magic. Warm tea, soft blankets, dim lights. They don't just look cozy. They tell your vagus nerve, it's time. Want to lull it even deeper? Try this now. Inhale slowly through your nose. Exhale with a shim audible sum. Feel that tingle down your spine and up. That's vagal toning. No crystals required, just breath shaped like a sigh. Some modern biohackers are trying all sorts of devices to stimulate the vagus nerve. Cold showers, electric pulses, dietary tweaks. But you've got a superpower built in. Awareness. Awareness turns on this system. Touch your throat gently. That's one of its main pathways. Rest your hands over your belly. That's another. When you hold yourself, kindly, intentionally, your vagus nerve listens. In indigenous Hawaiian practice, the concept of ha, the breath of life, isn't just about oxygen. It's the feeling of life moving gently through you, the unseen wave that connects spirit and body. It's vagus nervy before there was even a name for it. And here's the best part. The vagus nerve is the most tender proof that your body wants peace. It is hardwired to return you to calm, not through force, through rhythm, through the pulse of music, the lull of the ocean, the sigh of a fan on low. Tonight, it is working for you, loosening tension, lowering blood pressure, smoothing breath, softening heartbeats. And every slow, sleepy thing you've done so far, the dimming, the soaking, the exhaling, the stillness, all of it has been for this, to wake up the nerve that helps you let go. So let it. Let the wave rise. Let it crest. Let it fall again. You're safe. You're wrapped in a language without words. You're tuning in to the signal of rest. Now the tide is full. You're not just lying still. You're floating. Inside your own rhythms, your own saltwater loops. Your inner ocean has found its slowest song, but there's one last current to explore tonight. One that isn't tied to the heart, the gut, or the nerves, and yet connects them all. Light, not the kind outside, not street lamps or screens, the light inside you, the circadian lighthouse that pulses from the brain's dark center, the pineal gland. This tiny, pine cone-shaped organ has been called many things throughout history. The seat of the soul, the third eye, a crystal in the skull. Historians still argue whether ancient Egyptian depictions of the Eye of Horus were metaphors for the pineal gland or pure cosmic flare. But tonight we're not seeking symbolism. We're feeling something quieter. The pineal gland is the body's master timekeeper. It responds to darkness, real darkness. When your eyes sense the absence of light, signals are sent deep into your brain, into the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which sounds like a villain but is really just your brain's internal sundial. From there, the message reaches the pineal gland. It's time. Time to secrete melatonin. Not in a flood, but in a quiet drip. A slow release into the bloodstream, coating cells, softening muscles, urging your mind to fade. Melatonin isn't a knockout drug, it's a lullaby in chemical form. And salt, it's part of the current. Your pineal gland needs minerals, trace elements like magnesium, zinc, and yes, sodium, to function properly. That's one reason why mineral imbalances can disrupt sleep. Your inner lighthouse can't shine without the right crystals. Literal crystals. Yes, the pineal gland contains tiny deposits of calcium carbonate, similar to what's found in seashells. These aren't just debris. Some researchers believe they may play a role in piezoelectric signaling, meaning they can generate a tiny electrical charge when compressed or stimulated. Quirky? Absolutely. Proven? Not yet. But the idea that you carry a sparkling sensor in your brain, flickering to the beat of planetary light and shadow, is hard to resist. And here's a softer thought. You don't have to do anything for this to work. Just let darkness in. That's why true rest begins not with sleep, but with dimming. Low lights, drawn curtains, moonlight, candle glow, all are cues to the pineal gland. They say, you're safe now, you can shine. In rural Japan, it was once believed that sleeping beneath moonlight would overactivate the mind. So homes were designed to filter moonbeams into diffuse, soft patterns. Not darkness, but gentle shadow. Like sleep's waiting room. Tonight, maybe your room is dark. Maybe there's a soft light on. That's okay. What matters is that your inner world knows it's nighttime. Your body knows. Your blood has slowed. Your breath has deepened. Your skin has softened. Your belly is blooming with microbial dreams, and now your pineal gland glows like a tiny underwater lantern, the last keeper of your internal coastline. You've been moving with tides, with salt, with ancient rhythms that ripple beneath culture and time. You're not doing sleep. Sleep is doing you. And now, with the final waves pulling back, we drift into stillness. The story has ended, but your body is still listening. Let the last bits of narration dissolve into the quiet. The soft buzz of your nervous system winding down, the thump of your pulse like a muffled drumbeat through warm water. You don't need to chase sleep. It's already arrived in your lungs, your fingertips, your jaw unclenching without your permission. You may feel the weight of your limbs now, not heavy in a burdensome way, but like warm sand settling around you. Each grain shaped by breath, by time, by everything your cells remember. There's nothing more to think about. No clever loops to close, no facts to file away. The light inside your mind is dimming, not shutting off, just lowering like a lantern being covered with cloth. You're becoming less of a thinker and more of a sea, rocking gently, vast and slow with no need to crash or churn. This is your inner ocean, finally at low tide. So breathe, melt. If your eyes are still fluttering, let them rest. If your thoughts still try to wander, let them drift. Out to sea, with no need to return until morning. Good night, glowing traveler. Let sleep keep you now.